attested from c. 1400. This is the sense of care of in addressing the meaning of object or matter of concern, right? Let's look at the care factor. When our Black bodies go missing, why do the relevant agencies tend to move slower when Black and brown bodies are reported missing? And also, why worldwide press rooms tend not to highlight and push stories of missing persons of color?
Testing, testing.
Okay, so we're going to start with Brother Damaris in reference to the questions about care. Why is there no sense of urgency to look for our people?
Namaste, family. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
There's no sense of urgency upon or to look for our people because much like our BB, Francis Cress Welsing, taught us, they are living for genetic survival. And in order for us as a people to live in this world and to thrive and to be the best versions of ourselves and to grow and to raise our children, that goes against the very standards of racism, white supremacy. It goes against their genetic survival, being that we are in tune with nature, that we are the original people on this planet. So they will never care in that sense when it comes to us as a people. Matter of fact, them not caring is showing us their actual nature. It's showing us that they never have cared about us, that they never will care about us. When they put us in slavery, they did not care about us as Black people. They mutilated us, they castrated us, they took our children from our women's bodies, they destroyed our women, disrespected our women. They even did the same to us as Nubian Melanite males in this latter day and even in slavery times. It's called buck breaking or still disrespecting men. They still call us boys. They don't even respect us as men in this latter day. They don't even respect sisters in this latter day. So there will never be an urgency on the plight of us as Nubian Melanites in this latter day if we're not the ones doing it. We're the ones who have to scream out loud. We have to say at the top of our lungs, no, this is how we are being treated. This is what's been going on with us. This is our story. This is what we're going to do. We don't need your permission anymore. And we're being taught that as Atonas in this latter day. So there will never be on a wide scale of, a wide mass alert for us as Nubian Melanites. Speaking of that alert, they're actually trying to pass something in California very recently called an ebony alert. An ebony alert. They want little young Black boys and little Black girls, instead of being in the system with their Amber alerts, where they prolong the situation. They don't call and report when a little Black boy is missing or when a little Black girl is missing. They don't report that immediately. It usually takes 12 hours. And then they got this whole criteria of what is required for you to report that a child is missing. Like Cahun Teflon stated earlier in the portions that she was teaching, we get treated as runaways. We don't get treated that no, it's an urgent message or no, we gotta urgently find this young Black brother, this young Black sister, to see what's going on with that a child. So they're trying to push ebony alert in California.
Namaste, Brother Damaris.
Did it unmute? What did you all hear me stop at?
You were talking about the Amber Alert, and
yes,
then
I was
you were
speaking about the ebony alert that they have in California. It's getting backlash because a lot of the racism, white supremacists, or the white people, they're pushing back at it, saying no, it's creating racism. It's creating a divide amongst us. What did you all? You wouldn't have to worry about that. Your Amber Alert did its job and reported us the things that's happening to us. If it actually reported our little Black boys, our little Black girls, and our sisters and brothers that are out here missing, we wouldn't have to create an ebony alert. We wouldn't have to create our own Black Avenue. But ultimately, we have to come up out of her. That's why we have to come up out of her and do our own thing and start having our own alert system, start making sure we are policing our own community, start making sure we're out here getting the degrees that are necessary to open up our own businesses, getting the skills necessary to open up our own businesses, learning how to protect ourselves as far as getting our own, being able to defend ourselves on a physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional level in this latter day. So we should never, as Nubian Melanites, expect them to care about us when caring about us goes against their genetic survival as a people.
Thank you. I want to bring Sister Jan in reference to the stats for the Bahamas, and also because she's in marketing and communications, I want her to answer the question about the worldwide press rooms, where they tend not to highlight and push stories of missing persons of color. Can you give your take on why this may be, and some practical steps that the Black community can take to assist to finding our missing and the way their cases are handled?
Namaste. Can I be heard?
Yes, sis, you can.
Yay. Okay. Going back to the stats, we had a report that was released this year. I think they mentioned 54 people going missing, and of the 54 missing, the majority were young adolescent females. With regard to the global stats, if you look at them in human trafficking, they actually show no people missing for the Bahamas. But what I did was speak with Mrs. Zenobia Mills, who is in the Department of Social Services, and she works with the task force that was formed for the Bahamas. And she says, yes, there are many active cases she didn't give me specifics because a lot of them, I guess, are still active, but she has been on the task force from 2016 to 2020. And there have been numerous cases of people that are trafficked both locally and foreigners that have been trafficked through our country. As an archipelago, it is difficult for us to police our waters. So we are wide open for people to take full advantage and ship everything through here, inclusive of people. With regard to communicating, even though we are in a predominantly Black nation, we unfortunately have been colonized and therefore have taken on the mentality of our colonizer. So those of a lighter hue, or as we say, white is right, will get the attention. That still holds. It happens all over the world, and the Bahamas, unfortunately, is no exception. Calhoun Taffin had mentioned they stereotype us. They call us the angry Black woman, or, she's just acting out as a girl. Even young girls, they categorize them. They don't treat them as young girls. They treat them as aggressive, almost teens, and you're talking from 5 years old and up. So because the perception is that we are aggressive and we are that angry Black female, even starting as young as 5, we are not given fair treatment. So they're prone to say, she ran away, or, just wait a while because, I'm sure she's doing something that she'll come back from. And by the time as they start a search, usually, a case within the first 48 hours is the time to get best results. They don't start within the 48 hours. So, of course, our numbers are going to continue to escalate.
Right. So we're going to go into that. You mentioned that our girls are over-sexualized, right? We're going to go into the sexual exploitation of Black women and girls. The views of Black women are innately promiscuous and sexually predatory is why Black girls do not have the liberty of being children. Instead, they're forced into a world that turns their innocence into a sex symbol. As children, Black girls worry about the clothes they wear, how much skin is showing, and Reverend Hilton mentioned this in her presentation to us also, and what their actions might suggest. Black girls grow into Black women who face similar struggles. And as adults, Black women have to be conscious of how we dress in professional settings and how others may perceive our bodies. Our bodies are curvier. We have that melanin that helps with the curve. And so I just recently read up on a study that Georgetown University did. And they found that Black girls as young as 5, like Sister Jennifer had mentioned, 5 years old are already seen as less innocent and in need of less support than white girls of the same age. And this presumption leads teachers and authority figures to treat Black girls older than they actually are and more harshly than they would white girls or white female students, right? This research confirms what we previously knew as Black members of this community, right? That Black girls are viewed as more belligerent, violent, and aggressive than their white peers. They're not allowed to be girls, right? I want to start out with Dr. Ford, the conscious counselor. In your professional, as a conscious counselor, please describe what adultification is and how it affects our Black girls. Your mic is muted, Dr. Ford.
Thank you so much. To do that, it's important that we just have a real conversation. And before we get to the babies, because adultification, right? It's just when children are seen, especially Black girls, are seen as more mature, older than their age, right? And it seems like they have to act more adult-like. But before you understand or even understand why that is happening, because sometimes we want to get to the end result versus the cause before, that behavior, that this terminology exists because of one word, well, really 3. Racism, white supremacy. We must always understand what it is and how it works. Because if we don't, the thing about racism, and it's tricky, it plays games with semantics. It changes words, right? And if I change the word, then it will look different, right? So there is a wonderful professor named Dr. Marimba Annie. And in there, she has a chart, if social media would bring it up for me, please, in which she talks about the cultural other. And this is what racism, white supremacy has done. It has created a situation whereby, if you look at the smaller pyramid upright, that is their intercultural behavior amongst themselves. When I say amongst themselves, we're talking about the Indo-Aryan, we're talking about the Pale Arab Emirate, we're talking about the 11+1 clan thugs of Canaan, we're talking about people who classify themselves as white, according to Nellie Fuller. And they want to be competitive. They want to be individualistic. They want to be controlled. They want to be aggressive, but there's no spiritual community. And in the process of them seeking power, if you go to the other pyramid, that's triangle facing downward, at the top, you see European imperialism. And on the corner, it says the Utamarojo seeks control and destruction. It's controlling our resources, controlling our bodies, controlling our children, destroying our image, destroying our history, destroying what womanhood is, what manhood is, what familyhood, or brotherhood, or sisterhood is. And if you look in here, if you see at the top where it says the cultural other, because if you have a melanated hue, you are the cultural other according to the Asili, according to how Europeans or people classified white think. And why is this important? Because they study us, we don't study them. So we don't know when it comes to war, when it comes to sports, if you're in a competition or a race with other people, there's a playbook. There's a way that they're going to operate. So part of this destructive behavior is the adultification of Black girls. And it didn't start here. Would someone please bring up the word Venus Hottentot, also known as Sarah Bartman, but we know that's not her real name. She was a woman of African descent who was taken, kidnapped, exploited sexually. And that was the destructive practices. That is the adultification of a young woman who was curvy, who was Black, who was considered the cultural other, to the point where they can exploit her. They could put her in a human zoo. They could fill her up with drugs and substances and all these other things to do their bidding, never returned her home, barely wanted to give her body back. If you do not understand racism, white supremacy, you will remain confused. So in the process of learning how to teach our young girls, in order to do that, we have to first be honest and be like, I don't know. I don't know anything about culture. I don't know anything about my history. It was never taught to me. I don't know what it is to be a Black man. I don't know what it is to be a Black woman. I don't know. This is why you have to join organizations like the Holy Coptic Church, so you can gain that information that is required, so you can get back to reestablishing your culture and who you are, so we can teach women how to be ladies again. And what is the role of a regal woman, and how that's a nurturer and a protector. How to be noble men again. But as long as we're going to placate and act like they didn't do nothing to us, like something didn't happen, like we all don't have a little bit of touch of crazy, we're in trouble. Because this pattern will continue. You see the little bikinis, you see the two-piece bikinis at the store at Ascot, at Walmart, but you also see, to counter that, sisters need to start sewing. There's always an answer to the question, but you have to be courageous enough to ask the question, why? And also look at the obvious, but also identify the hidden.
I'm on. Thank you, Dr. Ford. In our Jean Ice's book, The Rise of the Divine Feminine, it says that any females blessed with the clarity to see the